there, friends. It's Diane, the Creative Inkster, and I'm here today to show you an interesting technique using vellum and heat embossing with some beautiful metallic embossing powders. So welcome. This is my Tuesday Technique Tuesday, and I will be posting the video afterwards if you don't get a chance to watch it live. But if you're here live, please leave me a comment. I love knowing that you're here listening and watching. And if you're watching the replay, by all means, leave me a comment as well. All right, so today's card, as I mentioned, is some heat embossing. You need a couple special things for this though. You're going to need Versamark ink. This ink is a much stickier non-color ink. Don't worry about that little blob there, that's totally fine. The main thing I found when I'm doing heat embossing is it may be a while since I've done it, so I always like to take my refill and ink this up a little bit more. It should be nice and sticky. I'm using the Gorgeous Leaves stamp set and some vellum. So we're going to do this embossing on vellum and then add some paper to the back of it. I'm going to show you a way to add the paper so you don't see all the glue dots or the adhesives that you use to attach it there. It just goes on cleanly. So let's grab a couple of stamps. So what I've done is I've taken a larger block. This is the, I believe, E block. That's it, the E block. And I'm putting the three images of the three leaves from this stamp set close together, and I'm going to ink them a few times and then emboss them. I'm going to emboss with silver, gold, and copper. So in our annual catalog on page 128, number 1 is a package of 3 Stamp Emboss powders. They're either the basics, black, clear, and white, or metallics, gold, silver, and copper. And that's what I am going to be using, is the gold, silver, and copper. And what I do is I put them in these Rubbermaid tins from the dollar store and use a little spoon to add it on. So I'm going to get the setup ready to go. I don't leave them open because I know me. A little bit flies a long way, shall we say. So I've got copper on the end of one, gold on one, and then silver labeled on the other one. Sometimes it's hard to tell between the copper and gold. So I got that all set up. I've got my ink pad ready. The trick with heat embossing is to also have your heat tool all heated up. So before I'm ready to actually start the heat embossing, I'm going to turn this on for maybe 10 seconds. I did have it on earlier today, so it's not totally cold, but that's kind of an important piece. So working rather quickly, you want to get your inking done first. I'm just wiping off any extra powder that might be there. And this piece here, in case you're wondering, is 4 by 5 1/4, but then I'm going to cut it down once it's done to fit, so I don't have to worry about messes here, there, and everywhere. So I'm going to ink it up and put that collage down, and then I'm going to ink it up again, and I'm going to look where that ended up and ink it again. You can see it as you're going along. You may not be able to in the camera view, but I can see it as I'm putting it down, so that I'm overlapping maybe a little bit, but not missing too many open spots or leaving too many open spots. Go like that. There we go. And it's okay if you do have an open spot, because then you can go back with ribbon or that and cover it up. Okay, now the next part is adding some of the embossing powder. So I'm going to sprinkle some gold in a couple of places, and I kind of want it to be in some places but not all of them. Just flick it off, and then I'm going to go in with my copper, and I'm going to put that over here. Oops, should try to keep it over the bowl. Now if you go back over what has already got powder on, that's totally fine. If you put a second color and it goes over a stamped area that doesn't have any other color on it, well then it's going to muddy it a little bit. Oh, look at that, Riley's going to bark. That means one of the kids has come home. It's Craig, buddy. Don't lose yourself over this. Okay, and I still see a little bit of shine, so I'm going to go ahead and add more. Whoops, right pot here, and add more here, there, and everywhere. Isn't he a great guard dog? Once you've got your powder on, then you can leave it for a little bit and not be worried that it's going to dry out before you heat emboss it. It's a good time to put your powders away, and so that you don't put your heat tool on and they go flying everywhere. All right, so here's my piece, and it's going to be a little bit noisy, but I want you to understand that I'm going to be heat embossing from the front and from the back. So I'm just going to turn it on a little bit to let it warm up. And I'm holding it where I don't have any of the powder. And then just carefully, you want to keep it moving, but you don't want to shake it. You want to keep it moving. Shaking it is not good for it. I'm going to flip it over, get a little bit through the back. Not as easy to do on camera here. There we go. And as it warms up, it melts the powder, and you can tell that it's taken because it goes from powdery looking to very shiny. So this is a bit of a hit and miss technique. You're going to get somewhere you're going to get too much of one color. That's just the nature of how it sprinkles down. There we go. Don't want to miss any spots. Okay, so there's my piece done, and I'm going to tilt it from side to side just to see that it's all shiny and no powdery bits. So not too bad. Here's the other one that I did. Not too bad for adding different colors in different spots. Okay, so now the next trick is how you get it onto a piece of cardstock without seeing all of your pieces. I've got embossing powder everywhere. I'm just wiping it all off. So this piece is also, I think, 4 by 5 1/4, which is kind of a scrap piece. I want to get this on here, but if I were to use Stampin' Seal Plus, liquid glue, glue dots, couple of things are going to happen. Some will help it stick, but you'll see those lines. Others will not help it stick. So I'm using our adhesive sheets. So you get 12 sheets of 6 by 12 in this package for about $12, and you can just cut them to the size you need. I would have preferred if it was all one sheet and not these separate perforations, but for this technique it's going to work just fine. So lay it face down, it's all dry and ready to go. Oh, before I do that, that's true, I wanted to add some color into where the white parts are. So hang on, let's do that. I'm using Cajun Craze, and you could pick any color. And my blending brush, and I can still feel a little bit of powder. On the back side, I'm just going to sponge this on all the way around. Again, this is on the back. You'll see it through, so it won't be as dark as you see it right here on this side. And it's really nice to have a bit of a mottled look, so it's not perfectly even everywhere. That you have a little bit of dark in some spots and a little bit lighter in others. You're going to leave little fingerprints. So now I'm going to hold it. I could use a tool or scissors, but I'm going to hold it with my finger on one of the embossed areas. All right, there we go. So now we have some beautiful color behind it. Could have used a couple of colors too if I wanted to, but keeping this simple. So now we're ready to add this to the base and back to the adhesive sheet. So on the back side, it's got 3 perforations. You pull this piece off, That's the sticky piece. I'm going to trim this down, so not overly concerned about it going over too much. If it goes over the edges a little bit, I cut my adhesive sheet to the same size as my vellum. So I want to kind of line these up. It's not going to matter too much if there's a break in there, because all you're going to see is the adhesive. This white piece that I'm pushing it down with, that disappears. Okay, so there we go. Now before we pull the backing sheet off, we're going to go and we're going to trim it. So I would trim it down to a smaller piece. And just for quick purposes here, I want to make sure it's down really well. You can use a bone folder on the back side if you like, to ensure that that piece sticks. This is just double-sided adhesive sheets. Peel the backing off. And when you're all done with that, you've got your piece that looks like this. And you just adhere it down onto your project, and you cannot see the lines where the sheet was used. Pretty amazing. These are the brushed metallic dots and some of the evening evergreen ribbon to go with. All right, so that's my card for tonight, my technique with multi-color embossing powders and applying your adhesive to vellum sheets so you don't see behind it. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely evening. See you next week. Bye now.